Still morning. Late morning. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Dave's Arcade. This is a Williams Superstar that I am going to be fixing up, for basically it's a co-worker's friend. He's had this in his basement for forever, and it's kind of a nice hangout space that they have down there, and this thing has sat in the corner for years not working, and they tend to sit around the bar that's down there and chat about, it'd be really great if you got that thing working. And after about the 50th time they've had that conversation, that my coworker Jack Hagar, he is the art director at American Pinball, he reached out to me and said, hey, do you know anybody in the Chicago area that you could refer him to? And I said, yes, but I kind of like the work because I can do this. I can work on machines while while calls and emails are not coming in for American. So, Mark, what's going on? So, if I don't get calls or emails, I don't get paid for American Pinball. So, it's a really shitty thing for me when there's no work. It's great for American Pinball because it means I'm dirt cheap. So, anyway, this is to supplement income that's not coming in by fixing up games. And it can be tax-free, so that's nice. Alright, well, I think I'm going to need a little bit longer extension cord. I think what I need to do so I can show the back box, so I need to switcheroo around some USB cords. Okay. Let me do this. What is this? Worm Feud. Got that baby from Growing Bud. Nice. What? What did you grow? Full tilt. It's not really, no, full tilt. It's not, oh, my hair. Yeah, I have curly hair all the time when I let it grow out. I get ya. Oh, Brian, I thought your Twitch name was like Krasma something. But anyway, full tilt, no, I don't make commission. That's more of like a sales end, which indirectly I could argue that, in fact, I was just talking to a guy that he was going to buy, or looking at an Oktoberfest, and people call me up to say, or to ask, like, what are some of the quirks to the game, adjustments, things like that, and even before they buy the game. And I think, indirectly, I help sell that game because they know that they have somebody that they can call that can get the help that they need, versus some other manufacturer that doesn't pick up the phone, doesn't answer emails, and is not a part of the pinball community, which I am. So it's, you look at it in that frame of mind, then I probably should get commission. All right, let me switch around some USBs. I'm gonna probably lose sound and one camera for a second, so just hold on. Alright, I should have sound back. Hopefully. Yep. Let's see. That one's spam. How do I get rid of this guy? Block. Okay. So you and Spooky answer the phone, and that's why I'm supporting that. Stern, you're lucky to get an email within a week. Yeah, I gotta refresh that. Hang on. Where are we? Deactivate. Activate. There we go. Okay. Yeah, that's what happens when you just yank the cord. Alright. So anyway, doing a few shop jobs. I just finished up a Stern Trident, which turned out really nice. And so I've showed some of the pieces where I was like building displays, things like that. And so if you want to see the final reveal with the owner that's going to be joining us live on stream Friday at 8 Central on Buffalo Pinball, that's this Friday. And so my plan is, I already have the game already set up in the normal streaming area. And so I'm going to have him come over and we'll start up the stream. I'll show some of the before pictures and kind of talk about the project. And, you know, the owner is very sentimental about this game. So basically, once I kind of give the little spiel, then I'll have him come in to see it for the first time after, you know, it's gotten its overhaul. So, all right, will do, Brian. Appreciate it. All right, so this thing, let me kind of show you what. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's actually a really fun game. I wish the sounds were a little more dynamic because it's an older Stern MPU 100, so it's like beeps and boops for the soundboard. But the layout is really fun and the rules are cool. So anyway, let me move this thing around quick and I'll show you. Well, it's all right, Mark. And I think he wants me to bring it to his house the next morning, so we'll have to go over to his house and play it, I guess. Gotta move some stuff here. Okay, so I didn't want to film everything of me going through this because it basically, it would take a long time for me to kind of go through and show you all the parts. I might do something like that with the bottom of the playfield and the bottom board. But very similar to what Mark's Basement Arcade does is same process. So I tend to start in the back box because this is where you have your ball count unit. So pretty much I've already gone through this, or not pretty much, I have gone through the entire back box, and I just want to talk a little bit about my process. What happened? Full tilt, thank you so much for the bits. So I wanted to talk about so Jones plugs, similar process of what Mark always does, is I just take a, well, I actually use red, but there's like a Scotch Brite pad, and clean the Jones plugs, and then go through, I would take off the steppers, or not, yeah, the steppers, and clean the contacts for the for your wipers, and clean all these. And I basically go through and clean, where is it? I'll show you. There's two tools that I use with a Dremel, or it's not a Dremel, it's a rotary tool is the generic term. This is a cheap one that I got from Harbor Freight, and it's got a quick release, and it's really small and handheld. So I use a spinning flap wheel, and that's mainly for like coil stops and stuff like that, so I don't use that as much. The big thing is the Dremel 443 steel brush, and that is what you will use predominantly on switch contacts, and you can even use it for cleaning up the boards and stuff. Basically get all that corrosion off there. So I went through those, and then, let's see here. Sorry, I'll get back on my computer. Anyway, the other thing that I tried to mimic what Mark does is the score reels, and what I did for these, instead of taking them completely apart like Mark does, what I did was I'd slide them out, and then I'd take off the reel, and then I took the whole thing, and I have a small, this thing is already warmed up and hot. I have a small ultrasonic cleaner that I just take the lid off, and I can dunk a portion of the score reel, the whole thing in there, you know, minus the coil. I mean, it won't hurt anything to ultrasonic clean the coil. You'll just probably lose your printing on your label. So I don't know. In hindsight, the method that I used, it accomplished the same or similar result. I would say it's probably not as good, or thorough. I mean, not as thorough of a method as what Mark does. But anyway, so clean and adjust all those switches. Shined up the score reels, which I think they turned out pretty nice. So that, the whole back box is done. I just need, what else? So I'll show you where I'm at now. I haven't changed any bulbs yet in the backboard, so I need to do that. But let me show you where I'm at now. Well, thank you. Hollywood Polo, how you doing? Day is going pretty good. Trying to be productive. So another thing I did, this is the first time I've done this, and it's worked out so far. I took the bottom board out, and it was a really hot day yesterday. And so I took some crud cutter spray, and I stood it up on end like this, sprayed the thing, and then I hosed it with the garden hose. And then I just left it outside and let it warm up and dry out. And I saw it done on TNT Amusements years ago. And I mean, they've done that a bunch of times. And honestly, I think it worked pretty well. So, I mean, I have to go through and clean all the switches. It's not a quick solution to cleaning all your switches. So don't think that. It's really just to get like the crud, because there was a bunch of, you know, black soot and all over the board. It was pretty gross. So that cleaned up a lot of it. Just it took, I mean, you unscrew this 2 screws and take the whole board out, take it outside. It took maybe 10 minutes. So maybe something to consider. But, you know, another way that you could do it is you just, I mean, I do like the idea, or the taking out this bottom board, because then you can set it on a table and really work on the individual relays and get them cleaned and adjusted. So I will be doing that. Okay, now today, moving over to the cabinet. So let me go inside the cabinet. Okay, inside the cabinet, my chime box. So this was just hanging on the wall. I got a rebuild kit coming. I'm gonna have to do some welding on this thing, like weld a washer, because this one's all chewed up. Got new rods coming, because I'll show you one of these. Oops. These things just get like a whole divot in there. So new rods, new sleeves and grommets and stuff like that. I do have one burnt out coil. One burnt out coil in the middle chime. Likely a whatever point that is. Some switch got stuck and it was just holding, and it burnt it up. So looks like somewhere around a 26 1200 I'll probably stick in there. Okay, so that needs to get cleaned up yet. I did clean and sweep out the bottom, which is really nice, or easy to do once that bottom board is out of there, and you can kind of find stuff that would have been underneath. You know, a lot of times screws and washers and crap will find its way underneath there. But I also wanted to show, as you know, I got into 3D printing. So a couple things I did. I found this cool switch cover, power switch cover. It's got a Williams logo on it. So now when you're reaching around inside the coin box, you're not going to touch the AC power. It goes on the existing screws that are already there. And then another thing I did was shooter rod housing. I found this again on Thingiverse. So the original one, it was already plastic, but you can see this thing is just cracked and broken. The supports here, and then I really don't like how they screwed right in through the whole thing. Just looks bad. Anyway, so that's pretty well broken. These screws were all bent, and so anyway, I think what happened was, I'll show you the original shooter rod is somewhere. Oh, it's right here. Duh. Oh, okay. No worries, Mark. So this one, the original shooter rod, I went to go and polish it up, which I usually just chuck them in a drill, right? And then I take some steel wool and metal polish, and I clean the shooter rod. So I went to go do that, but when you start spinning this thing, see how it has that wobble? So this thing, a kid or somebody must have been hanging on this. That's probably why the original shooter rod is broken, or the housing is broken, and then this is bent. So something must have been hanging on this. You know, I could see that. You know, a kid grabs a hold of it, and then they, you know, are hanging off the dang thing. So this thing is bent, and it's a pretty thick metal, so I don't know if I'll be able to bend it back and be able to reuse it. It might just be junk, because I mean, when you try to put it into the housing, it's always going to have a drag spot if it's not straight. So it's kind of, I think I'll probably just junk it. Anyway, but this turned out really nice. There's a little bit of modifying I had to do, because it's just printed in PLA, and I had to do some supports for it. So I had to just clean out the holes where the support material was, and then like some of the, like these standoff parts where the screws go in, I had to shave those down just a little bit, because I think this is based off of a more modern Bally Williams plate, so I needed to just some slight modifications to it, but works perfect. So I'm pretty happy with it. This thing I'll probably just junk because it's cracked and broken. So anyway, all right. Well, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna show some of the Playfield stuff. Move on to that quick. Sorry to spin you around. Okay. I'm going to check my focus here in front of the camera. Okay. So, one thing. Okay. So I noticed one burnt up coil, really burnt up coil, that I replaced. So there's like three up posts, and this is the center up post between the flippers, and so this thing got really charred, and so it was basically just trying to it's got one that pushes up, and then one that is the release. Yeah, I think that's how it works. So it was firing up. So anyway, I think a relay or something got stuck on probably the bottom board that was telling it to go up, or one of these switches was stuck closed, and they didn't really notice it humming away, or which would be weird because it's constantly, it would be pulling it down, right? So it would be, that would be pulling it down. So whatever switch was telling it to pull it down, it would just constantly pull this thing and cooked it. So that's this one. And then I'm also seeing these relays here, which are for Super, SUPER. These relays are pretty toasty. I'm going to check the resistance value on that quick. And find my... The jig is great. It's the maiden usage of the jig. Mark was kind enough to give me a jig that holds the Playfield, so I can flip it upside down and work on it. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be set to resistance, and you want it to be relay coils are going to be a high resistance. So I set it to 2,000 ohms, and basically I want to see, I'm going to measure, so it's a 28 1150 for all three of these, and I need to find something that's 28, well, here's a 28 1200 relay, so that's probably my closest, and I'm getting 15 ohms on that. Maybe you can see. 16 ohms. So, or the 20, here's a 27 1000. I'm getting 11 ohms. So, alright, here's the charred ones. 14, 15. Okay, so even though they look like they're cooked, they're not giving me an open reading, so those coils are likely still good. I don't see anything else that's burnt, so really just the one, which is good. So to check out the bottom board, I mean, I don't see any that's burnt on that. So it was probably a stuck switch, which would be telling this to pull this coil down. And then there must have been some stuck switches at one point, because these are rollover buttons, that caused that to have a problem. Okay. Barricade, how's it going? Yeah, a few more pinball repairs. Looks like my focus is okay, I think. Yeah, I figured I'd plug away at some of this stuff. Maybe I should I'll just get at it. Let me move my extension cord over here, and I can start working on maybe the stepper that's on there and some relays, and show you a few things. You got lots of projects going on. That's cool. What are you working on these days? And I'm doing well. I'm just, picked up this for basically for somebody that wants it fixed up. So it's okay. I'll make some hourly wage and fixing something up while people aren't calling for American stuff. So I had a few calls yesterday. Usually the beginning of the week so usually Mondays and Fridays are probably the busiest time for American Pinball, because they figure stuff breaks over the weekend, and so They submit service tickets and stuff like that, and so the Monday is like kind of going through that, and then Fridays it's they might be getting stuff ready for like a tournament or whatever, weekend party, something, and so Fridays will be, oh crap, I need this part or something, and or they want to get the part ordered before the weekend hits. So that's typically what happens. But even still, the summertime is pretty slow. I think people are on vacation, and kids are out of school and they're working outside, stuff like that. So people don't work on pinball as much. A 16-1 cab and redoing your living room. Awesome. Very cool. All right. Need to move my extension cord over. Need my ultrasonic cleaner right now. I think maybe if I wasn't streaming, I have another table over here that I'd probably set the stuff on, and then I just sit on a chair and clean stuff, which I might do. I'll probably do that with the bottom board. Okay. This in over here. All my stuff from the back box cleaning is over here. I'll show that stuff. And this and this and this. Okay. All right. So I have my little syringe bottle. It's a not sharpened tip. Just filled with alcohol, which is nice because you can you're not dumping it out of a bottle. This is just a little travel size finish line dry lubricant. I use that for the steppers. And then I showed this earlier, my rotary tool, and then a bunch of Q-tips. That's pretty much the go-to stuff for cleaning up EMs. Which is nice. This is all stuff that you can get, well, apart from this, I just got this at the bike store, but you can order that on Amazon. And you can get bigger bottles too. I noticed that it's kind of heat sensitive. Like I've probably had this in my truck, and it's kind of gotten a little thicker, but normally it's pretty thin, like oil. Okay. All right, Barricade, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. All right, well, I think I'll hone in on this stepper over here. I'll just show an example of a couple of things. Well, actually, what we'll just do this bank of relays right here. And if you've watched Mark's Basement Arcade, he goes in depth on this stuff, but I'm just going to show an example, and because I don't need to show everything because it's sort of rinse and repeat. Anyway, so Williams they're really easy for relay banks. This is going to be very similar to what's on the bottom board at the cabinet as well. And why I say Williams are easy compared to a Gottlieb is these switch stacks are typically like they're already facing a way that you can clean them, and you can see them clearly. So when you actuate the switch, you can see what's opening and what's closing, and where the contacts are. So it's good. It's a good idea if you have the ability to take the thing out, especially like the bottom board, so you can get a close look at it with some good lighting. Because if you're hunched over in the cabinet in a dark area, it's going to be really hard to see those contacts and know that you're adjusting them properly. So let me try to focus in here. Hopefully this is good. I need to turn my computer. It's probably a little blurry. Try my best. Hopefully that's good. Okay. Cool. So, what I do for these, as opposed to like a Gottlieb one, where a lot of times they'll have double stacks. So they'll have one stack here and then another one behind it, and they use smaller switches, and that makes it really difficult. Basically it means for Gottlieb's you have to unscrew each one of the relay brackets, and then that way you can clean both sides of the switch stack and adjust them. So it's just more to it, versus on a Williams one you can clean them in place. I just take my rotary tool. Hopefully I don't peak on the sound here. Oh no. Okay. So you just reach in to the contact. So normally I would just kind of go down the line and clean all of them, but I'll just show one for right now. And get in a little bit closer. Focus. Okay. Let's see. Is that focused enough? Or is it blurry? Let me go back a little bit. I think. Hopefully that's good. Okay, cool. I did forget one tool, which is the switch adjustment tool. Where did I put it? I do have more than one, but okay. So, switch adjustment tool, you can get them at any part supplier, pinball part supplier, Marco, Pinball Resource, Pinball Life, you name it. It's just a rod with some slots in the end, and basically what I'm going to do is look at, so you have, this one happens to have a make break switch, which is as you push the relay in, or it energizes, it's going to make this switch and it's going to break the first blade. And so what you want is a certain amount of overwipe on each of the blades. And so I can see that as I push this thing, you can actuate it slowly, and you can see at the point where it touches it. But what I mean by overwipe is the short blade that's being pushed, it needs to actually touch it and go, when it's fully energized, it actually pushes the small blade. So in this case, I would say that this one, it is pushing it, but it could probably be a little bit tighter. So they're not terrible. So this one probably doesn't need a whole lot of adjustment. Another thing that I'll point out, and they even say this in the back box, is to make sure that your switch stacks are tight. But the only way to do that is to remove this, and so I will do that. So make sure they're tight before you do any adjustments. This is the proper way to do it. Not saying that I do it all the time. I might check the tightness of the switch stacks on a couple of them, and if they look like they're good, I probably won't go through and do every single one, because it just takes that much more time, and this guy is paying me to get this game done, and so if I can do things where, you know, a couple of screw turns saves me, you know, an hour or two's worth of work to do every single one of them, then so these are already pretty tight. I got not even a quarter turn out of them, so I'll probably try that for a couple of them, and if that's all the tightness I'm going to get out of them, I probably won't go through and tighten every one. I feel like that's a waste of his money. So this, I'm bumping the camera. Okay, another screw go. Okay, put this back in. Now you're going to save yourself a lot of time. If those look tight, I would not. I mean, if you really want to, it's your own game, and you want to take the time and make sure that everything is good to go, by all means do that. But anyway, okay. So back to switch adjustments. So take your blade, and as you're looking at how it closes, so I'm actually going to tighten one of them. Sorry. Let me back up. So you have your long blade and your short blade. And one thing that Nick Shell from the Roanoke Pinball Museum taught me is you want to bias the switches. And what I mean by that is the long blade needs to have some tension against this switch ladder, or relay ladder, I guess. It holds the ends of the blades. And so you take your switch adjustment tool and just give them some tension towards the top. And the reason I'm doing that is it's giving this some spring to spring back up. So just that little bit. So they're kind of bowed more out. Now with your make break switches, these are because you have the long blade in the center, and so these become a little bit more difficult to adjust, but it can be done. This one I'm not going to adjust because it's already right where it needs to be. So as I push this relay in, it actually overwipes the make switch, and then when I release it, it's pushing the contact of this small blade backward, and you can see the blade moving. So I'm not going to adjust this. The only time I've ever, I sometimes have to do that on score reels, but a lot of times this long blade is just straight, if that makes sense to you. Anyway, so I already biased these longer ones, these 3, and so now I need to take the short blade and move that up to do maybe about a 1/16 of an inch. And when you close the relay, when you actuate it, it should move that small blade, past its resting point. So that one's good. So this one's not even touching, so I need to move that towards the long blade. That one's good. And then same thing here. There we go. That's where you want it. That's pretty much it for relays. It's rinse and repeat. You get faster as you go. So what I tend to do is I'll go through and clean them all with the Dremel 443 steel brush, and then I go back through and do all the adjustments and make sure you look at it close. If it does have a double stack switch, then you'll have to remove the bracket, flip it around, and then you can adjust and clean that side as well. So if it does have that, I typically clean this side of the switch stack, and then when I get to that relay for adjustments, I'll unscrew it, flip it around, and clean it like that. Okay, so I am going to move on from relays, because that's pretty much the same thing throughout the entire game. And then I'm not going to cover like pop bumpers and stuff like that, because that's pretty universal for a lot of games. Anyway, on to steppers. So a stepper, this one is a bonus unit. So you build up the bonus and you cash it in. So what's going on with this is where something that you would use lube this this finish line dry bike lubricant, but you have old grease from that's originally on there, and you got tarnished contacts that may or may not be giving these wiper blades good contact as it moves along. So as this thing clicks around, each one of these, it's lighting a light, and it's keeping track of where it's at. So as you cash in your bonus, it clicks this all the way down to the end. So it's not only this piece, because this is a section of resistance, right? So if this was all gummed up with old grease, you'd have poor connectivity, so your light may not light up, and you might not get the points that you're trying to get. The other piece is the mechanics on this side. Okay. So the mechanics on this side, you have two coils. You have your advance coil on the bottom, and then your de-advance or unadvance, I guess. So what you want is this thing clicks around, and it has a an end. So as you cash in your bonus, this it goes on this gear and it opens up this switch, and that's where it tells the 0 position. But then as it clicks up, it keeps going until it finds, I think it'll be yeah, there we go. So it finds, basically there's a spot in the gear where it's got a smooth spot, and so the metal tab that grabs the next tooth is not there. So one thing, this happens to be a metal one. I will point out on Sonic games, I have a handful of those, and Sonic, they cheaped out and used a plastic gear for this. And I've had this happen a number of times where the game doesn't know to stop giving you bonus. Like it's gonna continue to try, and if you have a plastic gear here, this piece can wear a groove in it, and eventually it will advance past where it's supposed to. It will find the next gear and it'll grab it. So not only should you clean it, but make sure that if that has any rough spots on it, that needs to be smoothed out with your Dremel tool. Okay, so basically on this, yes, you can take the whole thing apart. You don't need to though, and for some reason they had that tensioned higher than it should be. So I see that they took a spring and they kind of moved it up, probably because it wasn't clean. So anyway, I take my alcohol, and on any of the pivot points, so you can see you got spots where some metal parts come in here, and I just kind of add some alcohol to those spots, and then I work, oops, didn't mean to bump the camera, and then I work the mechanism. This is already pretty well freed up. I mean, it's moving nicely. But if you have any old grease on this, it's gonna kind of loosen that up. This one isn't nearly as bad as some of the ones in the back box that they move a lot. So as I said, clean this spot, and it's pretty smooth, so I'll just kind of show this, get my hand out of the way, clean off any old grease. You can see your hands will get dirty doing this. And your Q-tip. Okay. And then on the gear teeth as well, if you got, for some reason, some techs would just go crazy with the grease. And on these gears, it can build up, and then the thing doesn't advance as well as it should. So anyway, okay, the next thing, so there's some switches here that need to be cleaned as well. On my cord here, sorry for the moving camera. Okay, so again, just take the Dremel tool, clean the switches. for switches there. Now you want to check, try to get this positioned so you can see. So I was talking about the advancing, right? So now I'm this one is actually improperly adjusted. So this is supposed to be pushing that and opening it. See how it's open all the time? That is not correct. Here's my adjustment tool. So it's supposed to be opening it. I don't know why that was bent like that. This is supposed to be normally closed like this. And as you push, see now it opens when it's supposed to open, so I actually need to bias it a little bit more. So to do that, I push in on the advance coil, and then I can move this smaller blade in just a little bit more. There we go. That's where you want it. And then there's like a rounded kind of washer that's pushing on this blade, and it needs to be centered with this switch blade. I actually had to fix one in the back box that was so far off center that this switch was it wasn't even touching it, and so therefore it won't push the switch like it's supposed to. So to fix that, I just take my screwdriver and loosen the switch. Oops, don't mean to bump the camera. Loosen that and just move it over a little bit. Easy peasy. Now it's centered. All right. Okay. Now the zero position. You have this stack switch here, and as this advances, you have this, I don't know what basically a metal rod that's coming off it's just attached to the gear. As this comes around and it gets to the bottom, I still have to clean the front disc, that's why it's slow. It's supposed to open one and close the other. So I can already see that it's not doing either of those two things. So you kind of have to do your advance, and so that should be open on one, closed on the other. I need to get some more light. The buzzer. Oh yeah. Yeah, mine's not as loud as yours. Let me get. I had a big flashlight here. There we go. This is more for me, not for you. So I can see the switch stack. Okay. There we go. Okay. Got it. So what I do, you're going to go back and forth between the advance and de-advance. So the advance is working, but when I get to the bottom, it's not even touching this bottom blade right here. So that needs to be fixed. So I advance it 1, and then I just need to bring this up just a little bit. Right about there. So as I de-increment, it should be touching there. And the way to check, if you're not sure, just by looking at it visually, there's one trick is you can take a, let me find a piece of paper here. Something. Okay. Just take a piece of white paper and you can put it behind the stack of switches to help see the open and close of the switch. You can, oops, sorry I keep bumping it, but we're in close quarters here. Okay, so advance and then de-advance. You can kind of see it that way, or the other way that you can do it is take your multimeter, set it on continuity, and then so it beeps and you touch the contacts together. So I need the middle blade and the outer blade, so that should have connection, and then the upper blade should not. So that's telling me that this one is open and then the bottom one is closed. Okay, now I'm going to advance it 1, and then now the bottom one should have no connectivity and the top one should. There we go. So it's working. Alright, that is, well, now we'll move to the front side of the stepper. That's basically the switches and cleaning here. One other thing I will say is like your pivot points. So I put some alcohol on them. The other thing is you can add a drop of oil to any of the pivot points, and so let me do that real quick. Drop of oil. There's that. One on here. One right here. And I think that's it. Okay. Need to get some new. It's not supposed to be thick like that. It's supposed to be watery, but as it sits in a hot car, it starts to gel up. So clean that off my hands. And I need to spin this camera back around. Too many cords. I'm tripping over. Doing this on camera definitely makes things slower. So I'm not charging the guy for this time that we're spending streaming here. It will be for when I just go and knock it out. Comforts? Oh, for sure. Let me get the light out here. I don't need that anymore. And need to focus a bit. Focus. Is that any better? Okay. That. All right. Now, cleaning the front part, because this is a lot of the resistance. You have all these wiper blades going along, and they're gummed up with this old grease. And so, I do like Mark's method, where he uses a scuff pad, and you can kind of get a lot of the old grease off of there. Just take some alcohol and the scuff pad and kind of get that scrubbed off, break it up, work in between. But no, I'm not going to remove the switch or the whatever you call it, the spider contacts. It's just I can work around them. It's easier for me. And I don't have to spend time putting that all back together. I can just clean it in place. You can always advance the thing to move it out of your way and get it cleaned. So this is a gray scuff pad, so it's pretty light. You're starting to clean off some of the tarnish that's on the contacts. You're breaking up that old grease. And you take a clean rag, wipe that off. Might have to do it a couple of times here. Here's my de-advance. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to do one more round of scrubbing with the alcohol. A little bit on my scuff pad. I think it's something with compared to like the old petroleum-based grease versus synthetic that you can get today. Something to do with that where it dries out versus like a super lube or whatever. Okay. Yeah, it's already moving much better now that I got just with that. Okay. All right, now for the Dremel. Sorry, I shouldn't use, Dremel is a brand name. This is a rotary tool. Is the generic name. So if you really want to polish these things, I'm going to do the switch contacts as well. Just gently lift up the fingers and clean the contacts. Just go around and do all of them. Alright, now you can go through and do the individual rivets. You can do it like that, or, let's see here, is that, I mean, it just depends on how much time you want to spend on it, because that will shine them up real good too. But let me do one other thing. Let's see how well this works. I use this metal polish on everything. McGuire's motorcycle, all metal polish. This is good for cleaning up all kinds of metal. See how shiny this can get. Might want to use a scuff pad instead. I think steel wool probably isn't the best. Oh yeah, it's working nice. Steel wool probably isn't the best if you're, you don't want to get that on your switch stacks and stuff like that. But I'm not below. There's nothing below this, so don't think it's gonna hurt anything. Alright, and just buff that off. Back in my can. Need to have like an extension to my jig here for like a table. There we go. That's way faster than even the Dremel tool. So it makes them super shiny. Oh man, that's nice. It's like brand new. All right, super shiny. Last piece. So another thing to go and check is the tension of these wiper blades. And what I like to do is just kind of flick them up like that and just kind of feel the tension. They should snap back with some good force there. Make sure that it's, you know, if it was super light and floppy, then it's probably needs to be adjusted a little bit so it has more tension on that. Yeah, that's moving a lot nicer now. Oh, that's why they had that spring like that. Maybe they got too long of a spring. Let me try it the way that they had it. Yeah, I think that's what it was. They must have grabbed too long of a spring. Okay. Let me fix that quick. Yeah, it's kind of like a disco ball, huh? Alright. Need my snips. So they had just, I think they grabbed a little bit too long of a spring. So rather than just having it, they just bent apart but I'm going to cut this off, bend it a little bit further than what they had it. And to make a new loop, just bend it 90 degrees and then cut off the part you don't need. There we go. Done. All right. I do need to add a little bit of lubrication to this thing. I mean, it's smooth now, but it's probably a good idea. Take my dry bike lubricant and smear a very thin layer on all these contacts. That's done. Well, I guess the last piece really is cleaning the coil sleeves. So for this, I'm gonna have to take this off the whole bracket and turn. Do that quick. I need to add that to the Christmas wish list. Rather than a drill, I need a electric screwdriver. Save my wrists. I'm already starting to get some carpal tunnel. Plus, it'd be easier to get in here if it was a thinner screwdriver. All right. I'll take this and hopefully you can turn it on its side. Got one more screw over here for a standoff. Move that out of the way. There we go. Okay. These coils, I mean, they need to be cleaned up. I could tell from some other stuff that I've cleaned, somebody has went in here and sprayed some oil on these. So I think every one of them is going to have to be, unfortunately, taken apart. Oh my god. And I just noticed something here. Look at this. Somebody installed the coil stop backwards. Oh my god. Funny. So, somebody was in here before doing a little DIY work, not knowing what they're doing. Funny. Oh, well maybe not. Why is this? Well, there was only one screw in it too. Anyway, usually this, I guess just my ignorance of, like, why is that coil stop protruding so much? Either way, that needed to come off. And that will go in the ultrasonic cleaner. And then same thing. Ugh. So yeah, they're definitely lubricating these. You can feel some of the oil on it. And then I'll take this. Take that out. And I need to do this other coil. This is going to really just, I think some of the binding was due to this, that they oiled it, because once you oil it, all that black soot just mixes with the oil and it binds up, and it's just, I mean, it'll probably work good for, you know, a few hundred games, but after a while it becomes a black sludge, and it's not going to be very slick anymore. So this is a metal one, so that can go in the ultrasonic cleaner. And can I get this guy out of there? Oh yeah. Move out of the way, Coil. Got it. Yeah. So let me clean this off and I can show you quick. So this is the longer plunger. I just want to show some of the wear. I could probably replace this, but I'm going to show you how you can get some extra life out of it for this shop job and save some money. So let me go get that quick. It's right here. So I do this quite often with, so remember I talked about Random Retro. Thank you for the subscription. Much appreciated. So as I said, I use these two tools the most. So the spinning flap wheel, you can get a whole bag of them off of Amazon. This happens to be 80 grit. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, change this tool out and put the flap wheel on. This is another thing happily stolen from Nick Shell at the Roanoke Pinball Museum. Where did my coil go? Oh, here. So the coil plunger, see how this is it's kind of flat. And when you run your finger over the edge, you can feel that it has like a sharp lip on it. And that is causing drag. So as it goes into the coil sleeve, that edge is dragging all along that coil sleeve. And then, so what I'm going to do is take away the drag and just knock the edge off. At about a 45-degree angle, you go all the way around. You don't need a whole lot, but then you just run your finger back over it and you should not feel an edge anymore. If you do, just go back and make sure you get it good. Now you can do this with flipper plungers, any kind of plunger. It's going to happen. If there's a coil stop and a plunger, this is the method to bring some more life back into them. I'm going to do this smaller one while I'm at it with this tool, and then I'll switch over to the steel brush. This one's not as bad. Okay, so that's smoothed. Now I can change the tool back to my Dremel 443. It is made by Dremel, so that's what I will call it. But it's essentially just a small stainless steel brush. I totally forgot about the coil stops. Shit. Anyway, focus on the plungers for now. So now I'm going to take the wire brush and just polish the rough edge that the flap wheel put on there. And do that for both of them. Oops, grabbed the wrong thing. All right. Now, grab this and this. We have, oh yeah, okay. So another thing, I love doing this. Chuck it in the drill. Oops, off center. It'll work. Take your plunger, take your motorcycle metal polish. I like the McGuire stuff. It smells like grapes, so it's not as stinky as some other stuff, and it works really well. Okay, chuck it in your drill. Take a clean rag, or a portion of the clean rag. Look at that. Silky smooth. And if you're a pinball person, you love shiny. So the part that I can go through, I think this is probably going to catch the edge if I chuck it. If you spin it around and chuck it again, we'll see. Really, I just need to get to the end and do it slow. Yeah. All right. Take the clean. And wipe out the inside of that groove. I might still drop it in the ultrasonic cleaner too, but might probably not need to. Look at that. Oh my god. Super clean. That's going to be silky smooth going into that coil now. Alright, that one is done. I'm going to do the little one. little bit darker metal, but I'll hit it one more time. A little bit more polish on here. Oops. Coming unshut. Alright, and then this end, spin the thing around. Since it has that groove, I'll just do this slowly. Well, maybe. Or you can just do it by hand too. So it gets harder with the smaller ones. But really the main part that goes into the coil, that's what you need to clean the most. Like if there was a, it works on this because there isn't a link. So for example, if it was a flipper coil or something, I would just be holding on to the end with the link, and I'd just take my steel wool and I'd just kind of do it by hand, and that works really well too. So you don't have to put it in a drill, but since these didn't have links on them, it made sense. Okay, so I don't even need to put that in the ultrasonic cleaner. So that's those two. And then I wanted to look at the coil stops. So again, the coil stop should not have a sharp edge on it. And this one does. You can run your finger on the edge. If you feel some drag, then it's got a sharp edge. So again, I'll take my spinning flap wheel. I mean, you could probably even smooth it with this too, if it's not too bad. But I can see the edge, so I'm going to just change it out. Again, I got this at Harbor Freight. It's like $10. It's been working for years now. So if you don't currently have one and you work on EMs, absolutely must get this tool. You can buy the name brand Dremel if you want to spend the money, but for $10, it works really well. What happened? Random Retro bought a space hoodie. All right, man. Appreciate it. So I actually knocked all the costs of everything down to nothing. So I don't make anything off those, but I wanted I want them to be affordable. So Low Scores Arcade, thank you for the follow. Alright, so again, just like the plungers, I'm going to go along the edge, knock off that sharp edge. Oops. Alright, then just run your finger along it again and check that you got that edge off. You do a little bit more right there. Alright. And before I switch over to the polishing end, I just want to check this one. Well, I'm going to hit this one as well. And I'll drop it on the floor. Oh, my knees. Okay, here we go. So I probably should have done this all at once while I was doing the plungers, but you know, don't think about it. And this works on all games that were ever made since the beginning of time. You can do this to kind of get a little bit more life out of your coil stop and your coil plungers. And eventually you will need to replace them. You know, flippers tend to, I mean, because you're using those all the time, they tend to wear out the most or the quickest. They're high power. And a new plunger and link are inexpensive, so I mean, you can get, what is it, it's like probably less than $10 a piece. So alright, now I switch it over to the Dremel 443 steel brush, and I'm just going to smooth the edge of where I was just sanding. See, this is why I like this smaller tool. I can use it more like a pen. Really lightweight. I know Dremel has a battery powered one, but it's huge. Alright, that one's done. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to take these parts and drop them in the ultrasonic cleaner. For these shorty ones, I could probably, I mean, it's the same diameter as every other sleeve, but I'll need to cut one short. But let me see how it cleans up, just for the heck of it, in the ultrasonic cleaner here. Let me drop these in. Low Scores Arcade. Hey, Matt Mankato. How's it going, man? Last time I saw you, we were eating at that German restaurant in New Ulm. Alright, well, my small ultrasonic cleaner is still a bit warm yet. Let me get this hooked up quick. But once I fire this thing up, I'll probably end the stream because it's loud and annoying. Well, I'm not sure how loud it'll be on, because I do have a noise suppression thing. But the songs, oh, for sure, yep. Yeah, that was cool. I gotta go back and visit Minnesota again. Alright, where's I need like a smaller, my basket. That'll work. While I'm down here, I'll show you. So here's what I use for ultrasonic cleaner. Point this down here. So this is like a, I don't know, probably a 2-liter ultrasonic cleaner. I just got it off of eBay. I have 2 of them. I have a big one over in the corner and then a smaller one. And I use the smaller one probably more often. This one does not have like a drain plug as like the bigger one does. The bigger one I use for like big mechs, like a whole drop target mech or a flipper. Like even flipper mechs will even go in this smaller one. So for probably 80% of the stuff, I use this smaller little 2-liter one. And the other reason I really like this is I can use it for Playfield switches. So for example, I'll have the Playfield lifted fully vertical resting on the back box, and I have, when I'm doing chopping out the top side of the Playfield, I'll drop the switches below the Playfield, and then they're just kind of dangling by the wires. So this is now your opportunity to clean those, and because this is a lighter weight, smaller ultrasonic, I can plug this into the service outlet inside the cabinet and put like a towel down, so just in case you slop a little bit, but you can physically take this thing, turn it on, and then dunk your switches, and it just a few seconds, maybe like 30 seconds each switch or something, and you just go along and do all your switches that way. Works really well. But otherwise I usually leave it on the floor, and I'll dunk in parts and just kind of clean them as I go. So I usually run 50/50 Purple Power, which you can buy at Walmart for dirt cheap. It's a multi-purpose cleaner, degreaser, and then the other thing I do is 50/50 Purple Power and water. And then I usually run this at 45 to about 45 Celsius. So yeah, works pretty well for that. Anyway, I'm going to turn this back up. Alright. Since I'm going to be making a bunch of noise with the ultrasonic cleaner, I am going to end the stream here. That, and I can work a lot faster when I'm not yakking about it. I can just plug away. But hopefully you got a few tips out of the stream. That's pretty much my process of, showing an example of the Superstar, and I'll probably check back in as I knock through this a little bit more. Maybe when I get to the top side of the playfield cleaning portion, and when I get it all said and done, my plan is to just set this up and do a stream of it before I take it back to the owner. So, all right. With that, I'm gonna pull the plug. Thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate the subs, the bits, and the follows. Really do appreciate it. All right, we'll see you next time.